She screamed, "You're not authorized to be here." Like I just crashed a top-secret government facility instead of pulling into my own driveway. A woman with platinum blonde hair and a phone held like a weapon was filming me as if I were a fugitive on the run. "This is Vanessa Whitlock, HOA president, documenting an unauthorized intruder," she bellowed, spinning for maximum drama. I pointed to the weathered metal sign that's been there for years, "Caldwell Ranch, purchased 2021. She didn't blink. Apparently, truth isn't part of the HOA handbook. Comment below, what would your neighborhood do if you dared to exist on your own property? Stick around, because this story of corruption, revenge, and justice will blow your mind. That it had been a brutal week at the courthouse. I'm James Ethan Caldwell, a federal judge in New Mexico, wading through corporate fraud cases that spread like tumbleweeds in this desert. 3 embezzlement trials, 2 appeals that kept me up past midnight, and a sentencing for a CEO who looted pension funds. All I wanted was 48 hours of peace at my 12-acre ranch in Cedar Hollow Preserve, a quiet escape I bought 3 years ago after my wife, Emily, lost her battle with cancer. The old cedar-sided ranch house isn't fancy, single-story, wraparound porch, a little worn, but it's mine. It came with a horse barn, a well with sweet water, and enough space for my rescue dog, Rusty, to roam free. What I didn't sign up for was Vanessa Whitlock, decked out in a beige power suit that screamed, "I'm in charge," live-streaming my arrival like she was covering a crime scene. Her phone screen flashed the caption, "Suspicious individual at property line. Threat assessment in progress. Cedar Hollow residents, share for safety." She wielded her device like a news anchor, her voice dripping with the kind of authority that thrives on volume, not facts. "This is a private HOA community with strict access protocols," she declared. I pointed to my sign again, calm as I am in court. "Ma'am, this is my land. I've got the deed and survey in my truck." But Vanessa was too deep in her performance, her platinum hair whipping in the desert wind as she ranted for her audience. "I don't care about your rusty sign. This area is under HOA jurisdiction." Her nasal tone betrayed her. She was used to bullying her way to victory, not reasoning that I studied her like I do witnesses on the stand, looking for cracks in her story. In my experience, the louder someone screams about their power, the less they actually have. "Call the police," I said, cool and steady, the way I handle hot-headed lawyers. "I'll wait." That threw her off. She puffed up like an angry lizard, waving her free hand while keeping her phone trained on me. "Don't think your calm act scares me. My husband has contracts with city departments." Bingo. Name-dropping connections is a classic tell. People with real power don't advertise it. Her live stream's viewer count climbed, and she soaked up the attention, playing the brave defender against a dangerous intruder. The irony? She was filming her own downfall, harassing a property owner on his own land, all for her online audience to witness. 20 minutes later, Deputy Ryan Holt rolled up in a cloud of dust. Vanessa, still streaming, amped up her drama. "Officer, this man refused to leave when I reported him for trespassing. I feared for my safety." A bold lie, considering I hadn't moved from my truck, 20 feet away. I handed Ryan my deed, driver's license, and a recent property survey. He studied them, his face shifting from tired to confused. "Mr. Caldwell, these show you own this land outright, purchased in 2021. You're well within your rights." He turned to Vanessa, voice firm. "Ma'am, filing false reports is a misdemeanor. I suggest you check property lines before calling next time." Vanessa pivoted like a corporate exec dodging a bad earnings report. "Well, he still has to follow HOA rules," she snapped, doubling down. I smiled. "Rule 1 of being a judge, never interrupt your opponent when they're digging their own grave." Vanessa handed me a 47-page HOA rulebook, slapping it into my hands like it was a subpoena. I flipped through it, noting rules added after I bought my property, rules that seemed designed to trap, not govern. She warned, "I'll be watching you, Mr. Caldwell. Violations will be reported." As she ended her stream and Deputy Ryan drove off, I stood in the desert silence, holding her rulebook. My curiosity was piqued. How many others had she bullied with this playbook? The answer, I'd soon learn, was more disturbing than I'd imagined. Over the next week, violation notices piled up like legal briefs. My native buffalo grass was non-compliant, my rain barrel faced the wrong wind direction, and Rusty's barking at a coyote was labeled acoustic terrorism. By week 2, my kitchen wall looked like a crime scene board, plastered with Vanessa's petty citations. If she wanted to play the documentation game, I was ready. Using my access to public records, I dug into the HOA's finances. What I found wasn't petty, it was predatory. Over 2 years, the HOA paid $200,000 in environmental fees to Whitlock Environmental Solutions, owned by Vanessa's husband, Mason. For 37 homes, that's $5,400 per household for vague consulting, like $500 an hour plant recommendations and $250 noise complaints, filed by Vanessa herself. The math screamed exploitation. Driving through Cedar Hollow, I noticed 3 empty houses with faded, for sale, signs, their desert landscaping replaced with dying, overpriced plants. I spoke to an elderly neighbor, Mary, who whispered through her screen door. They fined me $2,000 for wind chimes. Said it was acoustic disharmony. I took a loan to pay it. They threatened to lien my house. A retired teacher shared how her neighbor, an 82-year-old widow, was fined $12,000 for inappropriate flora after 3 forced replantings. She sold to Mason's company at 60% market value to avoid bankruptcy. Then I checked my own ranch's history. The previous owners, George and Ellen Harper, were driven to foreclosure by $15,000 in HOA fines for things like unauthorized gardening. My cheap purchase at a bank auction, built on their suffering. Vanessa wasn't just a bully, she was running a racket. The summons arrived on official HOA letterhead, demanding my presence at a disciplinary hearing for $8,000 in fines, including unauthorized biological activity, Rusty's barking. At the Cedar Hollow Community Center, Vanessa had turned the room into a corporate courtroom, complete with a folder labeled Disciplinary Action, Caldwell, James E. She read a 2-page violation list like a CEO announcing layoffs. My ranch houses, outdated style, my commercial pickup, even my mailboxes, non-heritage design. I presented a $1,500 professional survey proving her claims were nonsense. Vanessa stood, stared me down, and tore it in half. This isn't HOA-approved evidence, she declared, ripping a state-licensed document in front of witnesses. I asked, what gives this board the power to reject professional reports? Her reply was chilling. This isn't a democracy, Mr. Caldwell. It's compliance management. The board nodded like drones, upholding the fines plus $2,000 in processing fees. I invited the community to an information meeting at my ranch, sending handwritten notes to every household, learn about HOA finances. All welcome. 25 residents showed up, including nervous elderly neighbors. Vanessa arrived with her loyalists, phone out, ready to record my failure. I connected my laptop to a projector and said, let's meet properly. I'm James Ethan Caldwell, federal judge for the District of New Mexico, appointed by the president, with 25 years prosecuting fraud and corruption. Vanessa's coffee cup hit the patio and shattered. Silence gripped the crowd as they realized their HOA tyrant had picked a fight with the wrong guy. That I projected the HOA's financials, $200,000 in fees, 80% from elderly fines, funneled to Mason's company. Violation notices escalated to forced sales, with Mason buying homes at a discount. Mary stood, voice trembling but strong. They fined me $3,000 for wind chimes. I sold my husband's truck to avoid foreclosure. A veteran added, they made me replant my yard 3 times, $2,000 each time, using their overpriced contractors. Then I showed my ranch's history, George and Ellen Harper, driven out by $15,000 in fines for their garden. The room fell silent, the desert wind carrying their anger. Vanessa's supporters edged away, sensing the tide turning. 2 days later, Vanessa held a press conference at the Cedar Hollow Golf Clubhouse, in a crisp white suit, claiming I was a federal bully intimidating a hardworking housewife. The local news ate it up, framing it as a David versus Goliath story, until Mason's email hit. He resigned from the HOA, blasting Vanessa's battlefield tactics. Then came her meltdown. I was reviewing case files when I heard metal crunching. Outside, Vanessa was smashing my truck with a tire iron, methodically denting the hood and shattering headlights, cursing about teaching that judge a lesson. My security cameras caught every swing in HD, plus her earlier mailbox break-in, a federal crime. Deputy Ryan arrested her mid-rampage, her white suit now filthy, her narrative in tatters. The footage went viral. HOA Karen destroys judge's truck trended with millions of views, sparking a flood of HOA horror stories online. 3 months later, at Bernalillo County Courthouse, Vanessa represented herself, her attorney having bailed. The prosecution was brutal: security footage of the truck attack, mailbox tampering, and financial records showing $200,000 in fraudulent fees. Elderly victims testified, their stories gut-wrenching. Mary said, "She took my husband's memory garden and called it compliance. She turned neighbors into enemies." Vanessa's defense, rambling conspiracies about judicial overreach, crumbled. The jury took 2 hours to convict her on all counts: criminal damage, mail tampering, fraud, and elder abuse. The sentence: 12 months in jail, $150,000 in restitution, and a permanent ban from HOA rolls. The judge, my colleague, kept a straight face, but the irony wasn't lost on him. Cedar Hollow healed like rain on parched soil. The HOA dissolved, replaced by a neighborly association focused on community, not control. Over $200,000 in fines was refunded, empty houses filled with new families, and wind chimes sang freely. At a community barbecue, neighbors laughed together, Rusty roamed, and the desert felt alive again. The story went national. Judge versus Karen became a rallying cry against petty tyrants. Other HOAs faced audits, and I got letters from victims across states, thanking me for fighting. But as I walked my ranch one evening, I spotted a new neighbor, Victoria Whitlock Sterling, Vanessa's sister, measuring my fence line with a folder marked property standards. Her platinum hair and sharp suit screamed trouble. A quick search showed she'd bought the house through Masons Arizona LLC. Round 2, I whispered to Rusty. Some battles end, but some wars don't. HOA Nightmares Unraveled, where truth is wilder than fiction. Smash that like button, share your HOA horror stories below, and subscribe before the next bombshell drops. Who's ready for round 2 with the Whitlock family?